Three, two, one. Hello, everybody. It's good to have you back. Before I begin the interview, please hit the subscribe button because it means I get seen by more people. You get this, I'm sure, on every video. I am so honored to have one of my heroines today on the blog, and truly, that is the truth. Mayor Anise Parker is probably one of the great pioneers in American politics. She was first elected to office in Houston as a city councilor in 1997. She then ran citywide and became city controller in 2003. And she became the first LGBTQ plus person to be elected mayor of a major city, mayor of Houston, where she was reelected to 3 terms. And ironically, the Houston police officers declared her council person of the year. She built a broad coalition in what was perceived at the time to be a very conservative city in Texas. She broke barriers, she shattered the glass ceiling. She's a hero to mine. I have donated to all of her races. She lives with her wife, Kathy. They have 2 children and have brought other children into their household to give them guidance and mentoring. And she is now CEO of the Victory Fund since 2017, I think. Is that right, Mayor?
Right at the end of 2017 in December, yes.
And I have to tell you, I've always been a fan of the Victory Fund, but she has taken this organization to new levels that we have unparalleled levels in fundraising and a national presence. And right now, as far as I'm concerned, it is the most effective, visible, important organization nationally in our community. And I am so honored to have you here today. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, David. Although it's a little embarrassing, we have this mutual admiration society going on, and because you're a hero of mine and you are one of the founders of Victory. So I get to run an organization that you helped plant the seeds for.
Thank you. Quick question. What's the overview this year for the election on, we're going to talk today about offices, U.S. Senate and congressional. What's the overview? And then do we have any candidates that we should be looking at in the U.S. Senate before we jump to Congress?
So, you know, the good news is that democracy really is thriving in a lot of ways. There are more people running, more different kinds of people, more women, more candidates of color, more LGBT candidates, and they're running up and down the ballot, and they are running for federal offices. I don't know why they want to go serve in Congress, but I try to respect that. There were more than 100 out LGBT candidates we were able to identify that ran for congressional offices this year. We endorsed 12 of those candidates, and 10 are still in the hunt and will be, we hope, successful in November. The problem for congressional races is, and the reason that we're not playing in more, that they are so gerrymandered that they're either very deep blue seats or very deep red seats, and there's not much opportunity to flip seats. I mean, I don't know. I think there's some 30 seats across the country that are really considered in play. Fortunately or unfortunately, 3 of our incumbent members of Congress flipped seats 2 cycles ago, and they are still in marginal seats, and we have to send them back. That's Sharice Davids, Chris Pappas, and Angie Craig. So we have, guys all over the map. They're capable, competent, really effective legislators, but their seats are drawn that they're will be always closely contested. So our first priority is to make sure that our qualified incumbents go back. Our other incumbents are in safe seats, but Angie Craig in Minnesota and Sharice Davids in Kansas, and then Chris Pappas all need our help and support. But there's some exciting other races. One of my favorite candidates for a long time is Robert Garcia, who has been the mayor of mayor of San Jose in California. Pardon?
Long Beach.
Oh, excuse me. Let's say San Jose, Long Beach. Yes, and sorry, I just got off a plane. Long Beach, and has been one of the most outstanding mayors in how he handled the COVID crisis through the death of his mother and his stepfather from COVID, but had one of the highest vaccination rates and one of the most successful navigations of COVID, in addition to running a large port city with all of the challenges, the logistical challenges in the last few years as our supply lines have been disrupted. And he had the opportunity to run for an open congressional seat. And of course, the way California does it, the jungle primaries out there, there's always two people in November, but he has got a weak Republican opponent in a very strong Democratic seat. So excited about him.
If I remember correctly, he was among the three finalists that Governor Newsom was considering for the U.S. Senate, and came very close to getting that appointment.
Yes, he absolutely did. And, I know he loved being mayor, but most mayors across the country have term limits. There are a handful that don't. And this is an opportunity for him to continue to serve. But again, anyone who's interested in our candidates, if you go to the website for our victoryfund.org, we're one organization in two halves.
Underneath the interview, so people can just check below and make donations and see what candidates they should be supporting.
All of our endorsed candidates are there. We only endorse LGBTQ candidates. And as I gave you a hint earlier when I said there were more than 100 who ran, and we ended up endorsing a dozen of them, we do put a viability lens on those campaigns. We want to push the envelope, but we don't want to be standing with someone who has no chance. We want to do what we can to make sure that the next time they run, they have a better chance of winning. And one of the ways to do that is to help the people who can win.
The candidates you've endorsed, how's the diversity? Have we been able to crack that ceiling a little bit?
Our candidates at Victory at all levels are 30% more diverse than the general candidate pool. Now, we know that intuitively because we're part of every community. And just because you are LGBT, I won't say it makes it easier for you to win, because that's never true, but it's not a negative any longer in the right candidate in the right race. It's something that you have to deal with, but it's not something that should affect your ability to win. And what we find that our more diverse candidates, our candidates of color, have a higher success rate in some cases. Our women candidates outperform our male candidates by 10 points, but our candidates of color are quite successful. Now, one of the candidates I love to talk about is when we helped elect a non-binary Black Muslim in Oklahoma City to the State House 2 years ago. We can win anywhere, but you have to do the right candidate with the right message. But Robert Garcia, who we were just talking about, he's an immigrant, so he would
Peruvian, if I remember correct.
Correct, and he would be the first member of our community who is an immigrant to serve in Congress. But we have a number of other great congressional candidates. All are profiled on our website.
He would be the first Peruvian. Sharice David was the first Native American from Kansas as a lesbian. Right next to Robert Garcia, I think there's another seat we have a good shot at, and that's Will Rollins. Is that right?
Down in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
Will Rollins. It's a slightly Republican seat, and he is running as a Democrat. We're a bipartisan organization, but frankly, it's almost impossible to find Republicans these days who are in our community who want to stand up and say that. But Will Rollins, he's a veteran. He's a former prosecutor, so he has a good manner and a calm demeanor. He's just a great candidate. But the veteran and the prosecutor helps him sort of bridge some gaps in a slight Republican district. But Palm Springs, We all have friends out there who are standing up and working hard for Will Rollins. I tell you the other interesting race. Oh, there's a lot. They're all interesting, and it's like my children. You can't talk about one of them. But Becca Ballant, running up in Vermont, is in a two-way race right now to be the first woman to ever represent Vermont in Congress.
It's hard to believe.
First LGBT person and first woman. But she's running. Her challenge is another woman, so there will be a woman representing Vermont. But Vermont's interesting because it's a statewide congressional seat, and that whoever the next member of Congress is, there's just one of them, and that means they're positioned for maybe senator sometime in the future.
Yeah, I mean it's important to understand that you have a very strict viability thing. So people who support your endorsed candidates are supporting people who have the capacity to win, both organization and their fundraising and their message and the kind of campaign that's run. And that's so very important for my readers to understand. And second, the reason congressional races are so important is just the reason you said. Senate comes up, and we saw what Pete Buttigieg did as from mayor of South Bend, for God's sake. So grooming candidates is very important. In fact, you have an institute, don't you, that trains people how to be candidates?
I was starting to say this earlier. LGBT Victory is one organization in two halves. We are a PAC, Victory Fund, and we are a C3 charitable organization, which is Victory Institute. And that's where we do candidate and campaign training. We have international programs. We have internships on Capitol Hill, a range of things. But we are invested in the pipelining of candidates, training people how to run, how to be successful, and then
We lost your video.
Sorry, are we back again? There we go.
That's technology. We're used to it by now.
Yeah, but helping people move up the pipeline. And we passed a new strategic plan for Victory 2 years ago. Oh, right before COVID. It's a good strategic plan, however. And one of the things that we committed to, since you mentioned Pete Buttigieg, Pete's a great guy and has absolutely mad political skills, and he's brilliant, just brilliant. But it's a long shot to go from mayor of an obscure American city you have a funny last name and no one's ever heard of you and you're going to run for president. He did a great job.
Listen, I've been at this politically since John Kennedy in 1960. I volunteered in the campaign. Never in my wildest dream as a closeted, tormented gay man did I think that an openly gay man would win the Iowa caucuses.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just mind-boggling.
But we have to have more Pete's. And so one of the things we committed to in our strategic plan going forward, in addition to a lot of growth, which we're doing, is that we need to create that pool of about 20 people who are legitimately poised to move up. And that means they have to be senators, governors, big city mayors, people with some name ID and some status. And now Pete's obviously in that mix going forward, but we need a broader pool. So we have the chance to grow our governorships this year. I'm loving that Mara Healey in Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts, she's one of the most extraordinary candidates. I met her and I was so impressed.
Always impressed by her. Tina Kotek is running out in Oregon, and to replace Kate Brown, which is a really odd position for us to have a legacy candidate, an LGBT candidate to replace another one. And then Jared Pohl is running again. So, it would be great to go from 2 governors to 3 governors, for example. But having that pool of people who can move up, and it's not just about being able to run for president. It's also being able to influence the political party, to influence policy, to be part of the national debate.
Now, even in some of the toughest states, Alabama, Georgia, we have victorious Victory Fund candidates. But then you go to a state like New Jersey and we have no one in the Assembly or the Senate.
This is true, but we have a candidate running, don't we? And
Yes,
Robert Zimmerman.
yep, that's in Long Island.
Pardon?
That's in Long Island, New York.
Okay, Long Island, New York. Okay, now you're gonna. Now I don't have any cheat sheets in front of me here, so.
Listen, I know you're running late.
Sorry. You know, I am in an airport, so.
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
I know you're running late. I don't want to take up a lot of your time. Thank you. I want to say while you're online, this, folks, is the national organization that is delivering the goods, that is effectively using your donations, and that builds each one a future for all of us in this country. It's because of organizations like the Victory Fund I live to see Pete Buttigieg run for president. And it is also the organization that has one of the most capable, brilliant CEOs of any organization that we have nationally right now. And so get involved with the Victory Fund, donate to the Victory Fund. We will have reports from Mayor Parker throughout the rest of this campaign, so you can keep updated, and I will let you know. And finally, please subscribe. I will have this up online and probably tomorrow. And Mayor Parker, we can't thank you enough. Let's go get them. Our community is under attack again. We should remember that, like we haven't seen since the 80s. You know, and the meanness and the ugliness of the Republican Party is almost incomprehensible.
Yes. Yes.
And so,
and it's not gonna get any better until we stand up to it.
that's right. Trump gave them permission to hate again. And so we're counting on you to change that. And safe travels. We need you, and sending you much respect, admiration, and love.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much.
So hopefully the next time will be a little smoother, and thanks for bearing with me.
It all worked.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.